Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to day 61 of our F125 hot lap and track guides. Yes, today the F2 series returns here to the Miami International Autodrome and, well, I think I've got to stop saying it in this series, but I prefer this track in the F2 cars, where this circuit relies so much on curb usage inside F125, and where the F2 cars are way less sensitive to the curbs inside this game. Sector 1 and Sector 3 now are actually quite good fun in this car as well. But yeah, of course, if you're new to this series and don't know what this is about, I provide you with a race-ready setup inside F125 for the F2 cars, of course, this time round. I then talk you around the circuit, kind of what you want to be aiming for, what gears you want to be using, any other kind of nuggets of information I can provide. I leave you with, obviously, like I said, with the setup, and then also a hot lap at the end of the video, of course. As always, timestamps will be linked down in the description below if you just want to head to a certain part of this video. A massive thank you to everybody for their continued support on this series. If you are new, if these videos do go on to help, or if you just haven't already, please do make sure you hit that sub button. We're trying to get to 15k here on the channel. But yeah, like I said, timestamps will be linked down in the description, and let's just head out onto the track. Well, making our way then onto the circuit, down in towards the final corner of the lap. Of course, all laps here on Miami start at this hairpin there, so get the power down nice and tidy in second gear, and then you want to try and give yourself the shortest run back towards that start-finish line there. Activate the DRS as soon as you can, and then bring the car over to the left-hand side of the circuit as we make our way in towards turn 1. You want to be eyeing up the 100-meter board, but actually you want to brake just at the start of this curb in towards this first corner. Make sure the left-hand wheels are completely over the outside of it, just to open up the run in towards turn 1 as best as you can. From 5th gear, you want to get all the way down to 2nd. Really want to get on that apex curb through the first part of the corner, and then nice and tidy up into 3rd gear on the exit. Like I said, really attack this 2nd curb, completely full throttle through there, and then through the next one as well. Again, full throttle. Try to make sure that obviously you keep the back end planted though. Like I said, it's really odd because the F1 cars, you cannot use those curbs on this game, but in the F2 machines, you have to absolutely use them at all costs there. Up to 5th gear, those who make our way in towards the S's, just a nudge of the brake on the way in. Make sure, again, you get the front wheel inside that curbing there. Maximise the width through the second part, down to 4th gear as you rotate the car through. Try and get as much of the car over the curb as you can, and then through the next part again, trying to get as much of the curb as you can. Don't run too wide through the early part of the corner, but downshift to 3rd gear as you make your way through. Open up the width nice and tidy, and then just as you get to the apex, that is when you want to get on full throttle. Again, trying to get the car completely wedged over that curbing on the exit before you flat out all the way down this back straight. Super easy to lose a bit of time through that corner, so you want to try and maximize it as best as you can to obviously give yourself a run down this very, very long full throttle zone. Of course, all the way up into 6th gear, bring the car over to the right-hand side as we make our way down then in towards the tightest section of the circuit. You want to brake pretty much exactly as you go under this gantry, about 110 meters out from the corner. Again, from 6th gear, you want to go all the way down to 2nd. You don't tend to use 1st gear in these Formula 2 cars. Be brave, you can attack a lot of curb on the apex, so don't worry about that too much. Leave the car in 2nd gear through the exit, and then try to hug the wall as best as you can there. Maximise the throttle on the exit, short shift up the 3rd gear, but be very, very careful of the wall on the outside. One big flick of the steering, and want to attack as much of the first curve as you can. Again, through the second part, you can really use it. And then through the third part, I would say avoid this curb, just to make sure you can square off the corner. Careful not to run wide on the exit, and then get the throttle down once again. Obviously in one nice smooth motion to carry the speed down this back straight then. Activate the DRS. Of course, you're going to be all the way up in 6th gear as we prepare ourselves for the final and definitely most difficult braking zone of the lap. These are the kind of corners where the F2 car's weaknesses really come through, hence why, as you'll see in the setup, the brake bias is so aggressive. Want to brake just as you go under the DHL sign though. Be really careful that you don't lock up the rears. Don't downshift too aggressively, but make sure you get the car down to 2nd gear as you make your way through. Attack the curbing as best as you can, and then on the exit again, be very careful of the bump off of the corner. Don't run too wide. get your foot back down on the throttle as smoothly as you can, trying to avoid the wheel spin, and then the short run back towards the start-finish line. Again, open up the DRS, shortest run back to the flag, and that is going to be a lap then of the Miami circuit. Like I said, it is one that in the F2 car you can really take a lot out of the track. You can really kind of use some old mechanics of the F1 games to really maximize it as well. Finding lap time around here isn't too difficult, but it is very rewarding when you sneak a couple of extra tenths. It's also a track, though, weirdly, where you can kind of find the limit quite easily as well there. But yeah, let's head back to the pit lane, though, and I'll talk you guys through the setup. Well, having a look then at our global leaderboard, as you can see, we're about 8 tenths away from the world record at the moment, but 46th in the world is not a bad lap time, if I do say so myself, especially for a race-ready setup. As you can see, Karim's gone about half a tenth quicker than me in the Campos car there. But having a look at the wing figures, of course, the AI on F125 have a lot of straight line speed around this circuit, but of course you can run some very low aero setups in these cars. 1612 seems to be the way to go here with the F2 machines. Again, gives you enough bite through Sector 1, obviously through some of those higher downforce corners, but then again, doesn't give you too much downforce that you're lacking speed in a straight line. 160 though for the on and off throttle diff. Again, where a lot of the corners you're trying to rotate the car off of curbs, it can be really tricky, so you want to run that off throttle diff quite locked inside this game, just to allow the back end to rotate around a bit, you know, through the exit of Sector 1, obviously that long flowing left-hander, that's kind of where you really want to try and maximize that, and then again through a couple of the left-handers right at the end of Sector 2. Completely minimum cambers and toe though, again, that seems to be pretty standard inside F125 with these F2 cars there. 37.8 for your front and rear suspension, but very low anti-roll bars for a change. Again, I think this more comes down to the curbs, that you don't want the car to be too firm. You kind of almost want it to wallow over those curbs a little bit, and obviously therefore being able to squat on the exit of the corners as well. So 37.8 for your front and rear suspension, 6.8 for your anti-roll bars, and then 22.48 for your ride height. Again, I think you could run this a little bit lower, but I wanted to make sure the car wasn't kind of bottoming out and losing speed off some of those curbs as well. 56-100 though for your brake bias and pressure. I've seen a lot of people running a much lower brake bias here, but honestly that final corner is brutal. So if you're struggling with locking up the fronts, you could bring it down to like 55 or 54, but then I would say you want to move your brake pressure down to like 98-97%. Ultimately, like I said, it's a very aggressive brake bias set here, but seems to do the trick for the most part. And then 26 PSI on the front, 21.3 on the rear. Again, just gives you a little bit of extra tyre life, but the tyre wear doesn't seem to be too bad on these F2 cars inside this game. Thank you all so much for watching though. Like I said in the intro, if you have gone on to enjoy, please do make sure to leave a like, get yourselves subscribed. I'm going to leave you guys with a hot lap then here from Miami, and I will see you very soon out at Imola.